finally here.
Yes.
I know for years we have talked about getting to a point where you're able to do this, what we shall talk about, and what you aspire. And just before we begin, I think I'd say I'm very happy for you, and I'm very proud of you that you've taken this step. So for those who don't know you, how would you describe Gash to them? If you met Gash and somebody was asking you about that guy, how would you describe Gash?
I'd say Gachu Michael Kimathi is a work in progress. Yeah.
I think that's a very honest answer, because most times you'll find people give you cliche nini. Oh, Gachu is lively. Gachu likes to play sports. So my
adjectives.
Adjectives and descriptions. So by work in progress.
Yeah.
For the people who just met you, like elaborate. Like, what do you mean by work in progress?
Basically, I can't purport to know who I am fully. And I'm also not just one thing. I'm a combination of events and experiences over time. Sasa expression ni venye sasa mi venye najibeba. Unanipata? And so a work in progress ni mse mwenye as anaendelea kujidiscover, kujiidentify, bado anaenjoy life to the fullest in terms of experientially nayo. Penye unachukulia kila kitu kama stepping stone. Kila kitu ni stepping stone. Yenye una build on. Hizo stones ni foundations zenye unalay, zenye eventually nafika point tunaanza kubuild on, na ndo maana tunadu works kama hii sasa. Unajua penye tumetoka moving away from conceptualizing into the next step, where it's taking action and creating, and from spiritual to physical, from thought to expression. Wonderful. Yeah.
So today is an exciting day for you, I know, because this is the beginning of a journey that you've decided to call. Maybe you can tell people what are you calling this whole experience, and then maybe explain to them what that word, that statement that you're gonna use is all about.
Yeah. This journey that I have chosen to embark on is called Mila Afreeka. And Mila Afreeka is an idea that I've toyed around with and that we've discussed at length, having attempted to make actions or moves here or there in yes, one, trying to understand what it is, and then being able to describe it and now package it and etc.
And what does Mila mean?
Mila is culture in Kiswahili. Mila is culture.
Okay.
Simply put, it's culture. And Afreeka, FREE.KA, that's the way I choose to spell it in my head, is two things. So the dots means you break them into one-word sentences, Afreeka, and ka refers to spirit. So that's one take. And then secondly, Afreeka is a free spirit. So an impersonation of the idea of a free spirit, and then now the embodiment of a free spirit in what now I choose to refer to myself as an Afreekan. An Afreekan can do anything.
An Afreekan
can do anything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And now under Mila Afreeka, there is now this what do I call it? The first phase of Mila Afreeka, right?
Yeah.
Where you you're seeking to dive into the culture of African food, if I would summarize it.
Yeah.
And the series that we're gonna journey on together as we experience is called Miti Dawa.
Yeah.
So maybe you can also just break down where did the inspiration for Miti Dawa come from? And what do you think you really want to achieve with it in terms of going through that experience?
Yeah. Firstly, Miti Dawa is a widely used term in Kenya referring to indigenous foods. Miti ni dawa, miti shamba, those are common phrases that have been used.
Just to make a joke.
Yeah.
As you've said, in the context of Kenya, I think if you'd say that line amongst the youth, I think the first thing they would think about is sex, actually. Do you think I'm wrong to say that? To an uninformed kijana kwa mtaa?
Well, I mean, of course ukichukulia ile design ya kupigana miti na venye ukipigana miti pia ni dawa, which in itself ni dawa.
Yeah.
With this particular one, it's the first step direction ya mimea.
Indigenous.
Direction ya mimea.
And basically, a rough translation is plants are medicine.
Yeah.
If I was to just do a simple translation, right?
Yeah.
And so, okay,
the word miti refers to trees in plural.
Yeah.
If you're looking at just the word. But then I think the beauty of Kiswahili is that also depending on how you use it, it takes on a different form. Yeah.
Definitely. So, Miti Dawa, like when did that hit you? Like, I want to do something, and this is the perfect way to phrase what I want to do.
I'd say to get to this point, it has been gradual. Because if I was to chase back where probably the bug beat first, I'd say it's back in 2016, 2017 there. Zile time tulikuwa tuna made na makingmen juu ya stories za Dr. Sebi. Unajua kutoka kwa hiyo reasoning, ndo nilianza kucultivate hii idea ya kulook back at culture, kuchai kuona what aspects of culture tunaweza adopt moving forward zenye ziko aligned na progression yenye tunadai kumake pia for the coming generations. Unajua, because I think we are creating our own culture as we go, and then it's for those ones who are coming after us to then look back and see if there was any actual culture that has been created, and if so, how can they contribute to it and enhance it and grow it,
like use it as a reference.
Exactly.
Okay. And for you with Mila Afreeka and your first series, Miti Dawa, what do you aim to achieve in two levels? So one, on a personal level, like what do you feel this experience and this journey that you're about to take will do for you? And then on a second level, like what do you hope that this will do for other people, and more so in the context of Africans?
Yeah.
Maybe you can start the first one.
Okay. And I like those two questions. Those are very beautiful questions. I'd say, personally, by me doing this, it's a form of, I'd say I'm being vulnerable to myself, where I'm putting nuggets of accountability that I can live up to, or that I can live up to. When we start looking at food and breaking it down, we see that food has so many implications on our bodies, on our life rather, be it physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and for
Even
me,
sexually.
because that falls under physically.
Oh yeah,
you know, it falls under physically, and I could say it's all linked with how we interact with it, and then the type of food that we interact with. So when I first learned about alkaline foods, for example, I was shocked because I didn't ever imagine what I learned in simple chemistry. Yeah, I think it's chem. Alkaline and acids, and then now applying, and I've seen actually how that is applied in nature. That for me was mind blowing, because I was like, this is a completely new
concept,
way of looking at food in itself, from the way food is produced to the way food is consumed, and everything in between. And so drawing an interest in that direction, I then sought to create a lifestyle around that, where uko na balance between foods zenye unadishi. Unajua ka siku hizi nikienda ka tao, for example, na niseme nadai food chip teketeke, most people first thought itakuwa ma KFC, chicken in, na unajua zile ma fish and chips zenye ziko tao, juu ni quick. But also at the same time kuna alternatives. Unajua kuna hiyo chapo minji imepigwa hapo kisamosa, zenye zingekuwa readily accessible, wase wangekuwa naifikiria different. Ile design ya so this is an alternative that I have access to. So spreading it in a way that there's accessibility to it, accessibility to the idea that hizi food zenye ni zetu za kitamaduni, ni food zenye si food za tene, si foods traditional, si ati ziko na style ama nini, ziko na manufaa kwa mwili yetu directly. Na ina guide sana venye tunajichukulia na venye tunajifikiria pia si wenyewe, juu by tracing back the cultural path of food, and in this instance you're now looking at food as a discipline, it's a medium, and looking at what is the place of African food in the culinary world, for example. Bado kuna veil tunatry kupias penye African cuisine is a cuisine that is recognized globally and internationally. And to us, it would even serve an economic purpose, because once these foods blow up, then you're then able to start cultivating them even more, because the demand increases. You see, and in that way, we stop becoming reliant on the importation of food, and we're now self-reliant to the point where we are trading commodities. We're now trading commodities if we look at it from the angle of a national state. And so just shedding that light and simply using Kenya as a specimen to show that it's actually possible for this to happen.
Wow. Now you mentioned nuggets of accountability. So I'd like to dive a bit deeper into that. So in what way do you think this journey will make you accountable?
I'd say by speaking it out, I intend on using that power of the voice to then create action from it that is on a daily basis. Penye speaking words into existence, essentially, is what I'm trying to do with this as a nugget of accountability.
And also, of course, as we know, you'd be interacting with various people with abundance of knowledge. And in a way, it is your aspiration that this knowledge you can be able now to apply in your life. And more importantly, I think you mentioned is to be in a position where even on a let's say a financial level, you're able to live the life that aligns with what you're doing. So okay, awesome.
And on that note, I think also documentation of this information is the reason why we now have cameras and lapels, and we're sitting down with these repositories, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this information traditionally was passed on through the tongue.
Yes.
It was passed on through language, you know. And one of the things I usually say is that the first language that you learn is very important. It's like it sets the basis upon which you then interpret the world. And you see, you also get it during those early formative years as a child.
Yeah.
So we know that the tongue has evolved, and just like we're now doing, switching between English, Kiswahili, and Sheng is just an example of the diversity that you find within Africa. And so also just trying to see, if at all we were to have an African language, how would that evolve? You know, and do we actually need to have an African language?
That unites,
you know, do we need to have an African language, or should we start just learning each other's languages? And
Mashup,
no, it's crazy.
Cocktail.
It's a crazy idea, but yeah.
Awesome. So and now, for other people, how do you think this journey and this experience and the goals and aspirations of Mila Afreeka, what would you wish it to be the benefit or the impact on other Africans?
On the masses. I'd say one is the awareness that that this information is out there. You see, one of the things we're also trying to do is that we're not only showing it, we're also trying to create networks around people who are in these spaces and shed light onto what they are doing, so that they can also begin to realize traffic. If this is part of the missing link that requires the next step into stepping in that direction, then that in itself, you know, just spreading that word out there and growing that network is just one simple way, you know, that is actually practical to a number of people. And gradually looking into it more, we can see how to onboard more and more people on it. Yeah.
Awesome. So, on to learning more about Miti ni Dawa. So for someone who's maybe just tuning in now,
yeah,
how would you describe Miti ni Dawa, and what is the series about? Like, what does it aim to achieve?
Yeah. So Miti ni Dawa is essentially looking at indigenous plants and medicines. The aim of Miti ni Dawa is to showcase how food is medicine and how food can be used as a medicine. So food as a medicine, meaning you're not only preventing, you're not only attacking disease, but you're preventing disease by taking care of yourself initially. And then secondly is, upon the event that you end up getting sick, you know, because we can't control sickness, there are varying degrees to which you can be able to either mitigate or address symptoms or issues initially. And if it's something that cannot be done through the indigenous way, then that's when you bring on what we now have as mainstream medicine. Modern medicine, rather, yeah.
Okay, very, very, very interesting. And so just in connection to that, maybe you can share with people, like, what has your experience or relationship been with food? And maybe I'm assuming that's one of the things that maybe has inspired you to this point where you're like, you feel there's a better way to interact with food. So maybe you can just share with us.
Yeah, that's also a very nice question. During the period when I was now learning about alkaline foods and Dr. Sebi and plant-based diets and all of that, there is a time when I took it upon myself to try it out and actually see for myself how do I feel. And some of the observations that I made were exciting, you know, just the way one of the things was productivity and you're surviving on very little, you know, so like waking up in the morning and before you head out you have coconut water, and then you eat the coconut meat and you take your and you begin your day. Na kama unatembea ama una ride bike kama uko juu ya whichever means unatumia, unajua ile nguvu yenye ilikuwa hapo ilikuwa zile za okay, ni interesting. Juu msemo mwenye amezoea kukunywa kahawa for example ama chai, juu pia hiyo ndio hapo ndio sasa hapo ndio mukuwa na feeling hizo drops. Niko like by a certain time na feel lazima ni top up cha battery low. Na niko like okay, this is different.
What saucer is this?
What is this? Hizi ni nini? Diet. Man, your word najua saizi ni kama fad. But vitu kama juice fasts. But hizo vitu zilikuwa tough but zilikuwa exciting. Juu unaona hiyo progress ikihappen. Ikwe weekly, ikwe bi-weekly, ikwe every month, bi-monthly. Unaziona hivi na uko like, uni mimi kweli? Unacheki. Then the functionality as well while doing it. Thinking is faster. Response, productivity, execution, attention. Beautiful, man, beautiful. So having dipped into it once, I was like hiyo yezi tosha. Ebu itakuwaje sasa nikipiga hii stuff on a daily basis. Na hiyo ndo tunatry sasa kuachieve na hii.
And I relate because I mean we were doing this together.
Yeah.
So I definitely relate where at times it was almost weird to not be eating but feeling so strong. It was a very weird dynamic. Even your mind gets, for lack of a better word, a mind, yani that word, you know. And so a question that maybe people might wonder. So as you said, you dipped your finger into it. What made it so hard to sustain that lifestyle? Or what were the hurdles?
One is accessibility. Accessibility is definitely a challenge to some extent.
Accessibility to what exactly?
Accessibility to such food, to these foods. Accessibility to juices, to fresh juices, to fresh fruits and vegetables, that accessibility. And then to a really small level where you see we are constantly on the go. You know, this being Nairobi, vitu ni teke zinaenda zikisonga. And we have pockets where you can actually get this same abundance. Nachika venye tulikuwa tunaenda BS, tunasimama kwa stall na unapiga hapo fruit salad na unapiga juo yako, unaweza get uji, unacheki. Na ni kitu fiti, na ni kitu fiti, kitu healthy, bei poa, na unaendelea na siku yako. So kutumia avenue kaa hii, kushowcase vitu kaa hizo, penye wasa wanaweza jua venye wanaweza ziget.
Where to source
these things, if you need sourcing, where you can be able to get them and actually do them for yourself. And when you can't do it for yourself, people you can reach out to help you do it as well. Yeah.
True. You mentioned sometimes what even inhibits one to live healthy is just the hustle and bustle of a city life.
Yeah.
And so just a simple question to you is, do you think like to live an indigenous lifestyle in this day and age, you kind of have to fight for it? Because at the end of the day, I guess the way the capitalistic system is set up, it's about, you know, do and go as fast as possible, you know. And, you know, as we shall investigate and come to see, most of these indigenous things, even in their nature, take time. They cannot be rushed.
Yeah.
So, like, just what's your view of that? Like, do you have to put in that extra effort to live a healthy lifestyle?
For sure. I'd use one word to sum that up. I'd say intention. It's intention. Whenever you're ready to take it up, then that can guide the shift. And once you make that intention, then it's very easy for you to make that transition. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And just as we wind up on this introductory episode, yeah, we are at the beginning. At the end of this journey, though it will never end, but let's say at the end of this first season, if I may call it that, yeah, what would you like to sit down at episode 10 and see that has come out of this journey? So basically what goals have you set?
I'd say going back to the land. With this first season, the focus is going back to the land and actually seeing where does this come from, where does this food come from, and then see how is this food prepared, how can we be able to prepare this food. So, you're ideally going back to the ground, going back to the roots and finding out from these repositories who have this information, how best one can begin from where they are. Pole pole tu wakisonga.
All right, awesome. I think those are all my line of questions.
Asante sana.
Personally, I'm very excited to be able to document this with you.
Shukran King. Give thanks.
And it is my dream that the more we interact with these environments, the easier it is to become these environments.
Yeah. I'm excited also to open that door and to take those first steps into, essentially stepping into a different world.
Definitely.
It's a completely different world. So it's fun, it's exciting, and hii tutajibamba.
Awesome, and thank you.
Safi King, shukran sana, man.
And so it begins.
Here we go.
Bless.